Full panel here with me now. Niall Stanage, White House columnist for The Hill. Jasmine Wright, White House correspondent for the digital news outlet Notice. Denise Gitsham, News Nation political contributor. And Yemisi Egbawale is a Democratic strategist. Hello to you all. Thanks for being here. We've had quite the day, and I'm glad we get to talk about this. You think Trump goes down this road, Jasmine?
I think he might. I think one of the largest questions hanging over their relationship after they reconciled was, what does Elon do if the bill looks like it's going to pass? And now we know he's starting to make trouble again. And so the president says that he's basically going to bring Doge on them. I went and asked somebody about the White House about this, and they said that they're not going to preview what President Trump does. But obviously, he has a lot of leverage hanging over Elon Musk's head, because he's not wrong that Elon Musk makes a lot of money from the government. In fact, it powers so much of his industry. But of course, Elon Musk has a lot of money, and so that's his own leverage.
I think Trump is just trying to show his strength, but I think there'll be a ceasefire between him and Elon in the end.
You really think so? Because folks like a month ago when this happened were like, it's inevitable. It's, they're going to reconcile. It moved the other direction.
Yeah, but here's what I think. Trump, for all his chest beating, is scared of Musk's capacity to affect public perception through X. And I think that's why he's not eager to get into a fully fledged outright
But didn't he lose this time, though? I mean, he wasn't able to mount that public pressure campaign against the senators, maybe because he started too late in that second round. So
I think that was very late on, and I think Trump is more worried about the broader management of perception.
All right, so your side of the aisle loved him, your side of the aisle hated him, and now there's a little bit...
It used to be the other way around.
Yeah, it used to be that, now it's this, and is there another tone shift? Because here's what I want to play. I spoke to a Democratic congressman yesterday and a Republican congressman yesterday. Here it was, rolling.
It's certainly interesting him making those type of claims when he's made a significant amount of money off subsidies from the federal government in the form of electric vehicle subsidies. And those are the type of things that need to be cut in this bill.
I don't always agree with Elon Musk. I do agree with him on this. Anyone who votes for this bill is voting for a really bad bill.
Well, that for a tone shift.
Politics makes for strange and unpredictable bedfellows, and they often change, unfortunately. And I just want to say, if women were in charge in Washington, you would not see this kind of back and forth, just for the record. Okay. But look, $38 billion of government subsidies for Elon and his companies. I actually worked
Were you saying this in January and February and
No,
March?
I actually was the one that helped get him for him. When I worked at my law firm on K Street, like every time he would say things like, I don't get any subsidies for Tesla, I worked on it for a year and a half, and we actually got you the $7,500 electric vehicle tax credit. So a lot of this is almost as rich as Elon Musk, but he definitely has way more to lose than President Trump.
So now your side is cool with him a little bit?
Well, I think maybe a couple members of Congress, but for the most part, I think that members are focused on the fact that Elon, at the end of the day, is going to be fine when this bill passes, if it ends up passing, but working class American families are going to have a little bit of struggle here. And so I don't think a lot of members are going to focus so much on the will they, won't they with the Elon-Trump romance, and I think they'll focus more on the constituents and the families that live in their districts and their states.
I was curious on this idea of Elon primarying Republicans, right? There were 14 House Republicans who supported the big, beautiful bill that won by less than 5%. 5 of them won by less than 2%, Denise. And it gets to the question of, if you are, for lack of a better term, vulnerable, right? You're in a very tight district. How much do you worry about that threat?
Yeah, I mean, Elon threw a lot of money in that Wisconsin Supreme Court, race, and he didn't really get very much from it. Money doesn't make a candidate. You have to have a candidate, and if you get money behind it, it changes things. Even if you're in a really tight swing district, I find that principle always prevails over money. So he may be able to get in, and look, I'm not going to argue with the fact that Americans are looking for a third option. I mean, I ran for Congress in a district where there were more independents than there were Republicans or Democrats. So there's definitely an appetite there. But I don't think Elon Musk, with his lack of credibility, back and forthing, finding opportunism at its height, is going to be the one that leads it.
I've been asking Republicans this, and I haven't gotten any, but you wouldn't expect them to say that. But there's also a very real public versus private dimension to this, of what they say and what they actually think.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll agree one point here. Money really doesn't determine elections. If it did, Andrew Cuomo would be be looking at being the NYC mayor. But I know there are so many frustrations with a lot of Democratic senators on the fact that A lot of Republicans are saying things behind closed doors about how they feel about the bill and about the relationship between Elon and Trump. But at the end of the day, I think one thing that I will say to compliment the president is that he is able to make sure that his party falls in line. And so I think regardless of the Elon noise, Trump still has...
It was interesting to your point. Mick Mulvaney said to me he thinks this gets done, that they'll eventually fall in line. What about that threat?
I mean, Donald Trump runs his party tight like a ship. And even today, when Senator Murkowski struggled through her vote, she still voted yes. And so he said that he thinks it's going to be an actual easier time this time around the House. He might be accurate. But these people, yes, they may be afraid of Elon Musk and they may be afraid of Elon Musk's money, but they're also really afraid of Donald Trump and those Truth Socials.
Yeah, their fear of Trump is greater than their fear of Musk. But that doesn't mean that Musk's money can't matter. And it's not money on one side and principle on the other, because Musk can actually make the case in this instance that those people who have voted for this bill are claiming fiscal conservatism and voting for legislation that's going to increase the deficit by $3 trillion.
All right, we'll leave it there. I thank you all. Appreciate it.